morning or good afternoon or good evening or whatever time of the day it is you're listening to me. Welcome back to the Moore Army podcast for another episode. Welcome to the 1 year anniversary episode.
Happy birthday!
I was just sitting this morning thinking to myself going, 1 year of podcasting, where the hell has the year gone? Unbelievable. But it's a good thing. But anyway, yes, hello. How are you all doing out there? Hope you're all keeping well and doing well. Welcome to the 1 year anniversary episode of the Moore Army podcast. Wow, it's been 1 year. I can't believe it's been a year. But anyway, yes, we got so much to talk about today, and we got some of your questions to answer on today's episode. Some of you have been sending me some wonderful questions over the last few days since I started promoting this show on social media, and some interesting ones that I'm going to address today. As always, here on the Moore Army podcast. But yes, guys, good morning. It is a horrible morning outside. Got up this morning thinking, right, one year anniversary episode to record. I'm also heading out for a lunch date this afternoon with mum and dad. I'm also up to Belfast with them, so I've got a good day ahead apart from the weather. Got up this morning as usual and looked outside and thought, oh God, look at that crappy weather we have outside. Unbelievable. It's just, the last couple of days have just been horrendous. But we'll talk about more good things coming up shortly. But anyway, before I continue on any more further into this podcast today, I'm a little bit groggy still this morning. I've had 2 cups of coffee. I'm still feeling a bit sort of this morning, but it's going to be a good day today. And I got a couple of vlogs to put out today as well, so it's going to be a productive day. And I got to go to football tonight as well and do some interviews with players and management, whatever else. So today is going to be a good day, media-wise. But anyway, this is the 1 year anniversary episode of the Moore Army podcast. I've been asking you guys to contact me over the last couple of days to send in questions and et cetera, and you have been coming in your drones, which I appreciate. But before we go any further in this episode today, I just obviously want to get the old housekeeping out of the way, as I like to call it, here on the programme. Obviously, if you're regular listeners to the podcast, you'll know this by now, but if you're new to the Moore Army podcast, welcome. If you would like to get in touch with us here on the show, you can do by the following methods, which is the old, first of all, email address, which is moorearmypodcast@yahoo.com. That's moorearmypodcast@yahoo.com. Also, you can contact me on the old social media, which a lot of you do regularly. The Facebook page, which is Moore Army YouTube channel, which is all the channel linked for my YouTube channel. We post all our podcasts and videos. You're actually listening to this podcast here on Facebook now. Drop a like on it. I would appreciate it. And like the Facebook page as well. If you want to contact me on Instagram, which I hear a lot from you on Instagram regularly, it's official Matthew Moore on Instagram. I'm also available on Threads, which is part of the Instagram platform, which I don't really post on, to be quite honest. But most recently, I've started reposting videos on TikTok. Yes, that's right. I'm on TikTok. Posted a couple of videos over the last few days, and some of you guys have liked them. Especially the wee funny skit that Brooke and Lewis put together for my TikTok. Go and check it out, guys. I'm official Matthew Moore on TikTok as well. Also, guys, if you want to get some Moore Army merchandise, Moore Army Hub, basically, for everything, you can check out all our social media posts all in one place. You can go and check out all the videos from YouTube, all the stuff on there. There's new merch put out there the other day. The merch store's had a bit of a facelift. I do recommend, guys, if you're going to buy some merchandise, to buy it off a computer. You can buy it off your phone, but if you want to get a good look at the store, you can actually have a look at it on whether it's your laptop or your iPad or whatever. You can go on there and check out the website, which is moorearmy.co.uk. Right, now, what do we got to talk about on the podcast today? Well, first of all, we are 1 year old today. And before we go any further in the podcast today, whether you love this podcast, whether you dislike this podcast, whether you are new to this podcast, whether you've only been supporting it recently, whether you've been listening to it from the very start, whatever your situation is, for anybody who's clicked on this podcast and listened to it on whether it be Apple Music, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, YouTube. Well, by the way, if you're listening to us on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe as well. Appreciate it. Or on Facebook, or whatever, wherever you've listened to this podcast or clicked on it or whatever. If you've contributed towards this show, whether it be an email, whether it be a Instagram message, Facebook message, whatever. I'm not on Twitter, and I haven't been on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, for nearly 2 years now. So anybody there who's listening is saying, why have you not mentioned X or Twitter? Because I'm not on it. And I want to bring that up later on, because I got a very interesting email about that later on, but I'll talk about that shortly. But yes, if anybody who has supported this podcast in any way, shape or form, whether you've even bought a Moore Army podcast t-shirt, which a lot of you have, which I appreciate, I just wanted to take this time when I'm recording this podcast this morning just to say thank you. Whether it be just even an email to me or a listen to the podcast or whatever it is. Anyway, whatever way you've contributed towards this program or show or whatever you want to call it, thank you. I do appreciate it. It's you guys that keep this podcast going. It's your questions and all your stuff that keep me going every week, that make me wake up on a Tuesday and Thursday morning to record these podcasts, and I see the messages I get every week, which I adore and appreciate so much. Whether it be good or bad, whether you send me in some of your lovely emails, which I get quite a lot that you probably listened to over the last year or so, from different people in different walks of life. Some of you I still actually stay in contact with, because obviously some of your stories have actually meant a lot to me, and I've kept in touch with you to see how you're doing stuff. And then obviously you get the ones out there who don't like the podcast and obviously decide to try and take it down and cancel me and try and find every little friggin' detail under the sun to try and pull me for and whatever else. Because at the end of the day, you're probably still listening to me, and if you are, then clearly you like what I say and I have to say. But anyway, yes, thank you for everybody who supported this podcast over the last year. It does mean a lot to me, and it means a lot to our family, and it means a lot. Most importantly, it's sort of my way of connecting with you more. And I know I should be connecting more with the likes of live streams and putting this podcast on a video format, which I've been saying for about 2 or 3 months now that I want to do. Because funny enough, I was talking to people the other day about setting up a video podcast for this. Cause I just love to listen to my viewers from YouTube and the listeners of this podcast. I love hearing from you. I love hearing your stories. I love hearing what you've been up to, and whether it be people who just put me on in the car, or they're out walking with their dog or whatever. You take the time out of your day to listen to me, and I'm totally grateful for that. Like, totally grateful. And you wouldn't understand how grateful I am for it. Like, I'm just a guy who makes YouTube videos for fun, decided to make a podcast just to sit and shoot the breeze. We did do 2 different types of podcasts every week, which was family friendly, and then Unleashed on a Thursday. We asked you guys months ago, what would you prefer? Because the the listening figures were showing obviously difference in the Unleashed version. You just wanted to see more honest me compared to what you've seen on YouTube with the family friendly PG vlogs. And I decided to go for the Unleashed, because obviously you outfooted it, and you are still listening every week, and I appreciate it. You still get the occasional wee troll popping in now and again saying, we still do that because you swear on the law, you swear on your thing, whatever. I've even had people trying to cancel me, and it's just hilarious. But this year has been a fun ride, and here's to another few years, more years ahead, and the next year ahead as well, because at the end of the day, guys, anybody who supports this podcast, it means the world to me. The fact that you pick up a phone or an iPad or a tablet or put me on your TV or whatever it is you do means a lot. And it's all just a basic guy from Northern Ireland who loved to make videos for fun on YouTube and decided to sit down and air his grievances on a podcast and talk to his followers every week. And it just means a lot to me. So guys, thank you so much for all your support. And here's to the next year ahead. Hopefully we'll be sitting back here next year saying, wow, 2 years. Crazy times. But anyway, let's get on with the rest of the show today, guys. What have I been up to since the last time I spoke to you on Thursday, the past week? A bit of an eventful weekend. So it has a bit of an eventful weekend. obviously Thursday night was my usual. Everybody who listens to this program every week knows Thursday night's my beer night. I like to switch off from the world, have a few cold beers, and just sort of have some me time. And I did that this past Thursday. My brother actually came round again. 2 weeks on the bounce, which is not like him. He came around, we sat and had a few beers, chilled out, and it was good. It was just good to have a bit of us time. So it was a bit of us time. It was nice. And the only thing was, though, it was kind of weird because I just said at the start of this podcast about the weather. Jesus, man, the weather's quite changed in this country, I tell you, over the last few days. You know, I was standing out back the other night with Tony, and Tony was having a cigarette and stuff, and we're just sitting talking away, and then it was a lovely night. We were just sitting out the back, chilling out. It wasn't cold, it was just lovely, and we were just sitting there having a beer. Everything was great, and within about 30 seconds, the sky just opened, and this almighty roar of rain came down, and it was just like, holy crap. Like, seriously? What the frig? So that was our night. Obviously, to go back indoors again, which was pretty crap. But just, it was a good night. Thursday was good. It was a good night. And then on Saturday, guys, Saturday was a bit of an interesting day for me in local football. I was a football with Lewis. Obviously, we're with the Welders on Saturday. We were home to my old team, Bangor, in the league. First game against Bangor I've obviously worked in since I left the club back in 2017. It was a bit of mixed feelings going into that game on Saturday. Obviously with the history with the club, and obviously few incidents that I've had with people who don't like me down there, and that's just me being totally honest with you. But everything went okay. Went to the match, no issues. Saw a lot of people who work at the club who I'm still friends with. Saw people who I haven't, like supporters I haven't seen for a long time. Some of the supporters I actually get on very well with. It was good to see some happy faces. People that I saw there, obviously, I'll be totally honest with you, don't fucking like me. That's just being totally honest. Don't seem to know what their beef is with me, like, but just obviously they've never liked me from day one, but they were there too, and it was an okay afternoon. It actually went not as bad as what I thought it was going to do. I think I said in last week's podcast I'd like to talk about that sometimes, because people ask me all the time why I left there. But I will talk about it one day. But no, it was good to see some faces who, happy faces and stuff, and some people who I haven't seen for a long time, and it was just nice to be there. The game itself finished 0-0, guys. It wasn't a great game, but it was still a bit entertaining, It was just an okay game. It wasn't great, but no, it was nice to see some regular faces I haven't seen for a long time. Just to name a few, girl I've known who used to be on the board there years ago, and still an avid fan. She travels the country with him every week. Deirdre, I've known Deirdre for God, no matter how many years. A guy who does the PA sometimes. He's a well-renowned football madman, I call him. He's involved in Irish League football for God knows how many years. He's a PA announcer for the Northern Ireland games as well at Windsor Park. He's wrote for a multitude of football magazines all across Europe and the world. Roy Kitson, who's very well known all across Irish League football. I was speaking to him. Some old directors I saw there too as well. So no, it was a good day. I saw some old faces, some supporters I haven't seen for a long time, and whatever else. As I said, I was expecting to be a bit worse, but obviously it didn't go as worse as what I thought it was going to do. At the end of the day, guys, I've openly said this on public platforms as well, that I've always been totally grateful to Bangor Football Club for giving me my chance all those years ago whenever I first broke into the Irish League as a media person, so to say. I've always had a soft spot for them, because at the end of the day they're the club that gave me my break. But again, unfortunately, it ended not the way I expected at the end, but it's the way those things go when you move on. There's obviously people out there who I'm totally grateful for obviously giving me that opportunity, and I'll be grateful for it. But at the end of the day, obviously life goes on and life moves on and stuff like that. So, but no, it was an interesting afternoon. It wasn't a great game, to be quite honest, but it finished 0-0. But it was a fair point. Both teams sort of shot each other out and stuff, and it wasn't a really great game. But you can watch some of the highlights and interview I conducted with the manager. Now, here's the thing: I did do a vlog from the parts of the game, and also I've been doing vlogs the last couple of days, guys, but just haven't got around to editing them, putting them up. I'm going to start dropping them all starting today. You probably saw a wee video dropped on my Instagram last night as well. We've been doing some house renovation work, which I think I mentioned on the podcast last week. I'm not too sure. We're doing some housework and stuff like that. There, I hired a skip last week. We've been clearing the house out and stuff, and I put a wee video up on Instagram last night where we've been like stripping walls in the kids' bedrooms and getting everything ready to get repainted and new floors and things like that. Just trying to give the house a bit of a fresh look, to be honest with you guys. But it's been a bit of a busy sort of weekend. Very, very busy actually. So it has. Sunday night was quite good as well. I had a really well needed night off on Sunday night where I just had me time. I needed. I got up on Sunday and I put the highlights out from Saturday up early, and I got everything done. I needed to get done around the house. I had a day off, and I said, you know something, I need a day for me. I know obviously I have a beer day on a Thursday night where I sit and have a few beers and stuff, but Tony was here and stuff, but I just needed some me time, if you know what I mean. I needed me time. So I ended up having a good night on Sunday night where I had a great conversation on the phone with a friend of mine. I just literally, it's the first time in a long time I actually truly switched off and had a really nice night. It was lovely. So it was really, really lovely. I had a really good time, and it was just me. It was brilliant. So it was well needed. But apart from that, that's pretty much what I've been up to since the last time I spoke to you guys. But I have some interesting things I want to talk about on the podcast today. Obviously, we're celebrating the 1 year anniversary of the podcast today, but there's some breaking stories that's been going on around the world over the last, few days or whatever else. And obviously I've got a lot of your questions and stuff that I want to answer to as well before I get off the air today. Now, I was going to do a Jackass of the Year this year, but there was just too many candidates. A lot of you were contacting me, especially on the social media, Instagram. You were saying to me, maybe you should make Harry and Meghan the Jackasses of the Year. Boris Johnson could be Jackass of the Year. Sleepy Joe Biden could be Donald Trump. All these people you were coming in. Jackass of the Year was a bit of you all know, guys, if you listen to the podcast on Thursday, I do Jackass of the Week every week, which will be back this Thursday, by the way. But I just thought I would leave it for Jackass of the Year because there's too many bloody candidates. That's just being totally honest with you. But just a couple of wee things I wanted to talk about on the recent news in the podcast today. Two things in particular that are standing out for me this morning by reading some of the breaking stories that the old MSN like to break every morning, which is called mainstream media, by the way, in relation to X, which is formerly known as Twitter, and also the story that's breaking all around the news today about Russell Brand. All the allegations is being brought against this man. It's just continuously all over the news. It's everywhere you go. You go on social media, all you see is Russell Brand. But I do want to go into this obviously story shortly. But there's one story that I saw this morning which actually really made me think to myself, I'm not actually surprised, to be quite honest with you. Now, you all know Elon Musk is the guy who owns Tweet, as I call it, Twitter, or X as it's called now. Story came out here this morning on a lot of different news sources are saying that he's come out now saying that the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, could go behind a paywall. Now, here's the thing. I actually would agree with this. You know why? Because Twitter is full of the biggest amount of fake accounts, trolls, keyboard warriors, morons, and the people who should be heavily medicated and locked in a fucking home with padded cells. Yeah. Thing is, guys, it's almost 2 years since I deleted my Twitter account, or X, whatever you want to call it, because of the vile, disgusting, amount of people that you see on that platform. And you may say, oh, but did you delete it because you couldn't hack the criticism? No, I don't give a shit about the criticism. The only thing I really don't like about Twitter is there's just too many fake profiles. Twitter is one of those platforms that is just full of lunatics who, to be honest with you, aren't a full shilling, in my opinion. Now, I do help run some X accounts or Twitter accounts, whatever, for like businesses I work for, football clubs, things like that. So, but it's all just football related. Now, some of the stuff that the abuse that I received on Twitter or X, whatever, was fucking disgusting. And I still have a lot of screenshots for like previous court cases that I ended up in court with people over. Some of the allegations that were made against me in relation to my YouTube channel, like for example, accusing me of doing things that I was not doing, like especially towards the kids, like saying I wasn't being a good dad, I wasn't feeding my kids, I was abusive toward my kids, saying all this fucking bullshit, and I found out who they were, and they were nailed to the wall in a court of law. Twitter is full of lunatics, which I would never ever step foot on that platform again personally, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be involved in that toxicity of crap, all that BS that people post out there every week, hiding behind their keyboards and are just complete scumbags. You know what I mean? And I could sit here and I can name you 20 people who I know who are on Twitter who are vile, disgusting human beings who just love to sit behind their keyboard, but when they see you in face to face, they wouldn't have the balls to say anything to you. And when this news broke this morning about Twitter, X going behind a paywall, I totally agree with it. I think on platforms now and social media, you should prove who you are before you have an account. Now, obviously, people are not wanting to pay for it. Now, recently, obviously, X has come out and said you have to pay for your blue tick or your gold tick or whatever it is now, your verification now on this platform, which I don't think is right, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, if you're verified as a legitimate person or a celebrity or a sports person or whatever, an actor or whatever you want to be, that's completely fine. You know, at the end of the day, you'd be verified and that's it. But the fact that they're charging people for it now, which is a bit... Not a lot of people are happy with that. A lot of businesses are sort of going, well, do you want to take my blue tick away? I don't give a shit. We've still got a following on the platform, so no, we're not going to do that. But the point is, you know, people have asked me over the last, since I launched this podcast a year ago, why aren't you on Twitter? Why aren't you on X? And that's the reason why. That is the reason why, because I've deleted mine nearly 2 years ago because of all the nonsense and the bullshit and the vile, sick, disgusting behaviour on Twitter, and as what Elon Musk always says, bot accounts, fake accounts, and it's a draw for people who have severe issues. Because I've had a lot of fake accounts when I was on there tweeting me saying, oh, Matthew Moore's a paedophile, Matthew Moore doesn't look after his kids right, Matthew Moore is fake, Matthew Moore's videos are all staged, Matthew Moore is a sick, perverted bastard. Some of the things that I got on there was just disgusting, like horrendous. Oh, Matthew Moore is a bully, Matthew Moore is this, and I'm just like looking at this and going, do you understand that, like, you can be found out what you're doing and end up standing in front of a judge? And honestly, guys, I actually have prosecuted people because of Twitter, and some people might listen to this and go, hi, right, dead on, you're full of shit. Oh, believe me, I have. Social media can be a good platform for showing your businesses off or your work or whatever it is, your passion is, whatever, but it can also be a vile, disgusting place. So it can be. And honestly, Twitter is one of those places that I will never, ever step foot on again. And it's just, when I see that going behind a paywall, I'm not surprised, because it's got to the stage now where they need to weed out all these little troll bastards who sit behind keyboards every week and think they know it all and like push people. I've seen cases where people on X, or I'm just going to call it X now, that's what it's called, in previous years, pushing people to the limit with their online social media abuse, that people end up taking their own lives or end up with mental breakdowns or end up with other issues because of this. And when these accounts are reported to X or Twitter at the time, nothing was done about it. And this is why whenever I was receiving that type of abuse online, I never put up with it. At the very start, it used to bother me. But I looked at it and saying, okay, I've got friends who work in tech. I've got friends who can trace these wee bastards and weed them out one by one. And we did. And once they had a knock at their door from the police or a letter from a solicitor, their accounts magically disappeared. And they shit their pants and they ran away. That's why Twitter is one of the most vile, disgusting social media platforms out there, and I will never step foot on it again. Ever. The only time you'll ever see me on X is if I'm doing an interview for a football club, for a manager, or I'm doing something for football related or whatever. You will never see a personal account of mine on there because I deleted my account. And funny enough, we say this today to show you how some people are quite sad on the X. I received a glorious email. I was checking through the emails last night, and I received, and clearly this is a fake email, and this is actually quite funny. It's actually made me laugh when I was reading this, and I wanted to address this today just to show you how much people out there are actually quite sad. My Twitter account has been deleted nearly 2 years, guys, and I got a message here from a person saying, hey Matthew, just thought it was interesting how much you rant on about masks, about COVID on the podcast when you're saying this before. He actually has screenshots of my old X account from like 2020. Here's the thing. This is the story about the time when I was on a train going to Coleraine in 2020. I remember this day like it was yesterday. They only had just first introduced mask wearing as mandatory on trains, because at the very start of COVID, obviously not everybody was wearing masks, but then around about June, July, that time for what I remember, and I could be wrong, they said that it was mandatory then to wear masks, because even when you were on the trains in Northern Ireland, you heard it being said, it's mandatory to wear a mask, blah, blah, blah. And this one day, and this is at the very start of COVID, when people didn't know whether it was fake, whether it was real, or whatever. But at the end of the day, I was hearing on all this is whenever they were pumping out all this bullshit on the news and saying, if you don't wear a mask on a public transport, you could be fined. If you don't wear a mask here, you could be fined. All that crap we went through in 2020. And to say, me and Lewis were on a train one time going to Coleraine to a pre-season football game, and there was this big crowd of people sitting on the train drinking and whatever else. Not that I give a shit what they were doing, but my question to TransLink was on Twitter that day was, why should we have to wear masks whenever you're telling the guard on the train should be doing his job by saying to people, look, listen, we're saying it's mandatory to put a mask on, it's the rules of the government, etc., etc. I was asking them questions saying, hang on, your guard's not even doing his job. At the time, we didn't know why COVID was so serious or not, whether it was fake, whether it was bullshit. Obviously, we all know what COVID is now. And at the time, I just asked TransLink simple questions, and this is what I said to them. I know your rules state you must wear a mask on a train, but what passengers on a train? What if passengers on a train don't wear a mask? I'm on a train to Coleraine right now, and there's a group of women, people on here, wearing nothing and slipping masks off when staff go by. Should the staff not be checking public? Just a general question, because at the end of the day, I was on there with my son. I didn't know what was going on with COVID at the time. I didn't know why it was real, didn't know why it was bullshit. This was at the start of July 2020. I even have fucking vlog footage to prove it as well. But the fact is that this fucking moron has kept these tweets. My Twitter account has been deleted nearly 2 years. The fact that he's kept these screenshots on he or she's phone. And by the way, I can see you're on Tesco Mobile as well from your screenshots. The fact that 3 years later you still have those screenshots is actually really sad. Like, my Twitter account or X account doesn't exist anymore. And this is the point that I wanted to make. And just when I saw this thing about Elon Musk this morning, I thought, I must mention that email I got this morning. So I'm going to address you right now. You must have those screenshots on your phone from a very, very long time, because that X account doesn't exist anymore because I deleted my account nearly 2 years ago. So it just goes to show you how sad you are for keeping these to send to me. So clearly you have no life. You belong on that platform to be with the rest of the lunatics. So here's your 5 minutes of fame. Take your screenshots and stick them up your ass. Not that I have to explain myself to you, but I'm just telling you what the story was. because this was at the very start of COVID when nobody knew what was real, nobody knew what was fake. I was trying to abide by the rules, but I didn't want to. But I was asking a general question. But the fact that you've kept screenshots on your phone 3 years fucking later shows me how sad you are. Not me, you. So you need to go and take a look at yourself in the mirror and realise that obviously you don't like me, but you still listen to me. So, hello little crazy person out there. Go away and play on X again, because you'll never see me on there again, because I do not want to go back on there again. That's the type of emails I get, guys, every week. The fact that this person has kept screenshots on their phone is really, really sad, isn't it? Yeah. Like 3 years ago, July 2020, we're now in September 2023. But when I see this thing about Elon Musk saying about going behind a paywall, you know, people obviously don't want to pay for it and stuff like that. But if it's a way to weed out and get people to prove who they really are, again, I would agree, because even the likes of Facebook and Instagram show proof of who you are. Because the online bullying now is fucking disgusting. It's horrendous. So it is, the amount of stuff I see online. I still receive messages on Instagram from wee morons all the time. You know, I've had people in the last 2 or 3 years, on fake accounts by the way, mostly, telling me to go and jump off a bridge, go and hang myself. I should put a gun in my mouth and blow my fucking brains out. I'm an unfit dad. People accuse me of having sexual relations with my own children, having sexual relations with my parents, just to name a few. These are the type of sick bastards who are out there who just love to sit behind a keyboard and try and push buttons. And years ago, I'll admit, when I was still coming out of my bad period of my mental health issues, it used to affect me. Now I just look at things like that and go, you sad, sad moron. Like, these people have no life at all. Like, this clown had sent me this email with screenshots when I was just asking general questions. How come we have to wear a mask when other people are getting away with it? But they were pumping out every single stop. They were saying the next stop is, it's mandatory to wear a mask. You must wear a mask. And the government were even coming out at the time saying you have to wear it on public transport. That was my general question. But not that I really have to explain myself to a fucking clown like that. But the fact that it's 3 years later and this clown still has screenshots of an account that doesn't exist anymore. Oh, you people make me laugh. Honest to God. I sleep well at night knowing the fact that you are all sitting there looking for every little detail. Like, I've had ones recently send me screenshots or screen recordings of me talking about the LGBTQ stuff the other week and all, and I just look at these emails and go, you fucking morons, yous all belong on Twitter. Yous really do. And that's why I do not go back on Twitter, because it's full of fucking lunatics. And you may haters at me think, oh, he just doesn't like criticism, that's why he's hiding away. Think what you want to think, I don't care. But anyways, back to this article here. Musk has suggested that all users of X, formerly called the Twitter, may have to pay for access to the platform. He had a conversation recently in the public saying that the payment scheme was only to set up the way to counter bots and fake accounts. We're moving to having a small monthly payment fee to use of the systems to obviously get people to use access to prove who they are. Since taking over Twitter last year, he's looked to obviously make an incentive of this here for users to pay for an enhanced service, which is now called X Premium. But he just goes on here to say, obviously, he wants to try and improve the platform by getting rid of bots and fake accounts. So I would agree with him, obviously, in a way where, you know, you have to prove who you are and stuff to be on the platform, which I totally agree with. But charging people, no, I wouldn't do that. That's my personal opinion on it. I think you should try and prove who you are on social media, and not hide behind a fake account. People who hide behind fake accounts are just sad individuals. Very sad people with no life and need to really take a good hard look at themselves in the mirror. You know, it's just when I got that email, And then I was talking about the Platform X. I had to read that out. So the person who sent me that wonderful email, if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, I got mentioned, it's getting to him. Really? It's getting to me? Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to sleep now for a week. Grow up. Seriously, grow up. Delete the screenshots off your phone. Go and take it. If you have a family or you have friends or whatever, go and spend time with them. You know? Go and take up a hobby. Go and do something else. But anyway, moving away from that crap. The whole news scene at the minute seems to be aiming towards this guy, Russell Brand. Russell Brand, I'll be totally honest with you at the start, I'm not a big fan of him. You know, I always thought he was a bit of a weird dude, bit of a free spirit, hippie type, sort of free spirit type of person. You know, when he first started appearing on the screens and stuff like that, people used to say, "Oh God, there's our man Russell Brand. He's good and all that." And I used to think, "Oh, he's a bit of a weird cat, bit of an odd one." But he sort of like, you know, beats to his own drum and sort of like, you know, I never had a personal vendetta against him. You know, but at the end of the day, he just wasn't my cup of tea. I thought he was okay. And then during the COVID crap and stuff was all going on, he created this YouTube channel where I watched a good few of his videos where he was talking about, you know, the government and all how people are making money out of all this and all the stuff that was going on in the world. He was addressing it like normal people in the street were talking about. He was giving his opinion on it all, and he started creating himself a big following, and, you know, it obviously got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And some of the stuff now, I'll be honest with you, some of the stuff that he mentioned in some of his videos in relation to the likes of the pandemic and all the stuff that was going on with the cost of living crisis and all the stuff that was going on, some of the stuff he actually made a lot of sense on. But I wasn't an avid viewer of his channel. And I thought, yeah, he makes a bit of sense, like, but I'll just let him go and do his own thing. He seems like a freak. He's a guy that just goes around and beats his own drum, etc., etc. But recently, it's come out in the news that just come out there saying he's been accused of sexual assault. And there's been more allegations that have come out in the last sort of 2 days or so, about allegations right back as far as 2003. Now, he made a video on his YouTube channel saying that any relationships he's ever had with women have been consensual. He's openly admitted as well that he has a addiction to sex. And, you know, as I said to you before, he can be a bit of an odd cat sometimes, but, you know, he said to himself that anybody who's ever been with has obviously been consensual, but obviously all these allegations are coming out against him now, and of course the old MSN, the mainstream media, are jumping all over it, basically burying him before he's even investigated, and obviously what the situation is. But no, just reading into some of this here over the last couple of days, I'm a firm believer, guys, that you're innocent until proven guilty. That's just the way I've always been. But sometimes in this case, now, I'm not saying that he is innocent. I'm not saying that he's guilty. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, a proper investigation has to go on. But the thing that really annoys me is about why some of these people are making allegations against these big celebrities, and instead of going to the police, they're going straight to the mainstream media. Like, why? Why would you do that? If you're a victim of something, whether it be a sexual assault or an assault, or you're in an abusive relationship, or you're being abused, or you're being harassed or whatever, why would you go straight to the mainstream media instead of going straight to the police? That baffles me, though. You know, why would you go straight to the mainstream media? Why don't you just head straight to the police first? That's my question. Some of these people have been heading to these people are making these accusations are going to the mainstream media, and obviously they're eating it up and they're loving it and they're all over. And you know, recently, even before these allegations come out, he was getting a lot of criticism from the cancel culture because he was speaking obviously out about, you know, COVID and about the government and about all the things that have been going on, and because the people who I like to call little fucking morons who run around thinking the world spins around them, and the people who don't like being told the truth, are now trying to get him cancelled. And I was just reading this morning there before I come on the air, since he made that video saying that he's innocent, and obviously they're going to get a whole investigation done into it, and they're going to obviously fight back, etc. YouTube have now demonetized his YouTube channel, so he'll be making no more money from YouTube. And his tour that was coming up here soon as well has been cancelled. A lot of stuff has been cancelled, obviously, for him until this full investigation is complete. Now, here's the thing, guys. You know me. I'm just straight shooting on this podcast. At the end of the day, if he's proven guilty and it's proven in the court of law that he has done these things, then certainly he'll be punished to the highest degree for it. And he will obviously find it hard to recover from that. But at the end of the day, if the guy is innocent, and these people are literally trying to just take him down because of his views on life, his views on the government, his views on everything else that's going on in the world, and because he's outspoken, he will literally be entitled to a lot of compensation, and he can literally nail these fuckers to the wall for it. Because I find recently in this world that if you speak up, or if you say things and you go against the grain, or you go against the establishment, then automatically you're cancelled. And I've experienced a few people like that over the last year since launching this podcast, coming in saying they're going to try and get me cancelled. And I've had emails from different people saying, oh, we hate what you say about this now, and you're a conspiracy theorist, and you're this and you're that. Look, listen, everybody has an opinion in this world. Why can't we go back to living in a world where everybody has an opinion, and if we can agree to disagree? If you don't like what I have to say, fine. I don't like what you have to say, fine. You have your views on something, fine. But some people just take it to the thing where they just literally throw their dummy out of the pram and go, oh, he's wrong, he should be cancelled, or she should be cancelled. They should be eviscerated from this planet and never to be heard or seen from again. You know, everybody's entitled to opinion. And at the end of the day, when it comes to relation to Russell Brand, if he is guilty and he's proven guilty, then by all means throw the book at him. Punish him. There's laws in this country for a reason. But if he's innocent, and these people are slating him all over the mainstream media and slating him all over social media, it's going to be an interesting few months ahead, especially for him. If he's going to be rubbing his hands and going, yep, you want to accuse me in the wrong when I've done nothing wrong, then so be it. But come back to what I said a few minutes ago. I just don't understand these people who are making these allegations like against celebrities or whatever. They run to the mainstream media first. They don't go to the police. Go to the police. That's why the police are fucking there. Go to the police and talk to them and say, look, listen, this, and this has happened to me. I want to make a statement or a complaint. You know, and then it sort of makes you scratch your head and go, well, if you're going straight to the mainstream media, are you going there just to try and get yourself a story and earn yourself a few quid out of it, out of a celebrity's expense? Who knows? And I'm not saying here on this podcast that he is innocent or guilty. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to a fair crack of the whip and a fair trial. But nowadays, people are just too quick to jump on the bandwagon and go, oh, this person's being accused of this, guilty. Take them to the quarters and hang them. Or get rid of them, castrate them, get rid of them. Automatic, boom, on social media, you, out, gone, hung out to dry. But as I said to you, if Russell Brand is guilty, then certainly he'll be punished. But if he's innocent, all them people who were slating him all over social media, and all them mainstream media people who've been putting stuff out on TV and whatever else, will have a lot to answer to, should I say. And that's just me being honest. I always believe innocent till proven guilty. And at the end of the day, guys, there's been a load of stuff that I've been put through personally as well, not obviously on the extent of Russell Brand. Like, for example, people making false allegations about me on social media. Like, there was one time I had a person posted a post on Facebook. It was shared everywhere, like literally everywhere. And I lost a lot of friends out of that. I lost work out of that. I even had family members in different countries who saw that post and were questioning me. But I ended up taking that person to court because of it. And it was settled in court because people jump on the bandwagon. If people just take a dislike to certain people, they automatically, again, because just talking on social media there, they just come on and just slate them. Try and ruin them. And this is where society now is so fucked up. And I always look at social media on two ways. First of all, it's good for promoting businesses and everything else, and good for, people who keep themselves in a small circle. But then on the other side of it, people are just horrible on there. And this whole Russell Brand thing, I'm currently on the fence. I'm just watching it from the outside going, let's just see what happens. But I've said to you this, I've always thought he was a bit of a free-living, hippie-type cat who just sort of floated through life and said his opinion, and he's had his critics over the years, and other people at some points loved him, some people hate him. But at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to a fair trial, innocent until proven guilty. We just have to wait and see what happens over the next few weeks and months ahead to see exactly what is going to happen with the case of Russell Brand, which is going to be interesting, should we say. It's going to be very, 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 very interesting, because at the minute, I just seem to see a lot more people on social media trying to cancel people and trying to eliminate people for the slightest wee thing. It's sad. So it really is sad. But there's just a couple of things I wanted to bring up on the podcast today, just to obviously have my view on it and stuff. Guys, I also wanted to, before I move on, I'm going to actually move on to some of your questions and stuff here, because I've just realised I've been nearly talking for fucking 45 minutes. I want to give a big shout out to two guys who I know very, very well. I was on their podcast last year. Two very, very good guys from the ASAP podcast, or the ASAP podcast. They have actually just recently came back from a short hiatus. Adam and Sean from Lurgan in Northern Ireland. Two absolute rockets. Love their podcast. They're so funny. They just recently returned there a few days ago, dropping a new episode. They're available on Spotify, Apple Music, all the usual places. It's called Ash Shite, another podcast, or the ASAP podcast. Just wanted to give him a wee quick shout out, because they're good lads, and I'm hoping to get meeting up with them soon again for another wee catch up, and maybe a wee night out again or something like that, like I did last year. God, that was a fun night. So it was. That was a very fun night with them two boys from there, and they are so funny, them two. Really, really, really good lads. But I just wanted to give them a wee shout out on the podcast today, guys. But anyway, yes, let's move on to some of your questions. Oh, guys, wow. What? I don't even know where to start with these questions. Some of these have been sending me in the last couple of days. Is incredible. Some of my regular listeners have been obviously sending in stuff as well, which is great. I love hearing from every single one of you. What I'll do is I'll start today on Instagram, because Instagram is a place where a lot of you contact me on all the time. Right. Anyway, for future reference, you want to get in contact with any future programs, you can contact me on Instagram, Facebook fan page, which is Moore Army YouTube channel, official Matthew Moore on Instagram, TikTok, I'm on there too, and I'm also on the email moorearmypodcast@yahoo.com. Right, some of them are regular listeners who listen every week. The likes of Kieran, I guess Gil Martin's last name is. We young lad called Ryan Macaulay, who's another good kid, sends me regular messages every week. So it's good to obviously hear from them. Ryan's one of them who sent me a message today for the podcast, saying, "Hi Matthew, congratulations on 1 year of podcasts." This is on Instagram, by the way. I've been listening to your podcast from the beginning. My favourite episode was episode 7, which was called Preparing for Another Trip to Liverpool. Keep up the great work. I always look forward to a new episode every week. Kind regards, Ryan. Ryan, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're a good kid. You've always been dead respectful towards me and my family. You've always been dead nice on social media and more. So thank you very much for your Instagram message. I really do appreciate it. As always, your support is really, really means a lot to me. So it does. So, right, on Instagram, I want to hear from Thomas. Thomas on Instagram writes, "Hi Matthew, just wanted to say congratulations on 1 year anniversary of the podcast. Love listening to the podcast every single week. I've recently started getting my girlfriend into listening to the podcast as well. She thinks you're funny whenever you go on a rant." Okay. Keep up the good work. Here's to another year ahead of more success and your podcast growing even more. Keep up the good work, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. And it's a good thing you get your girlfriend listening to me, or is that a bad thing maybe, listening to me talking for an hour every week? maybe a bad thing to influence that poor girl on me. So it is. There you are. Let's go on to another one here on Instagram from Ewan. Ewan, is that right? Euian, that's right, yep. Ewan on Instagram has wrote to me saying, "Hey Matthew, congratulations on 1 year of podcasting. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you keep recording 2 episodes a week when some other podcasters only go for so long and then drop away. Keep up the good work, my friend. Love listening to your podcast every single week. Quick question, when are you going to start getting guests on the podcast? Kind regards, Ewan." Well, that's one thing I'd love to do. That's another thing I'm trying to do. I keep saying this every week. I'm just trying to juggle everything between work, kids, football, travelling, everything. I'm just trying to juggle. You know what I mean? And I've got a few good friends of mine who are involved in different walks of life who would love to get on the podcast. There's one particular guy I know who's a local actor. He's also a videographer himself. He makes videos, and some of his videos are on Instagram are brilliant. Chris Heath, he's involved in TV series on the BBC. He is a local actor. He's a filmmaker. He's just a really nice guy. I would love to get him on the podcast for a chat sometime as well. He's just a really, really, really nice guy. So he is. So, but yes, Ewan, thanks for your question. I appreciate it. Thank you for all your support over the last year. It means a lot. Let's go on to more Instagram here. Let's have a look and see. Ben on Instagram has wrote me a message saying, "Hey Matthew, how you doing? Love the podcast. Can I ask you a quick question? Would you ever consider doing a podcast on football? I know you're involved in local football, and I hear you talking passionately all the time about your experiences seeing old players that you normally see when you grew up as a kid. Would you ever consider doing a football podcast? Because I know you're very knowledgeable about football, and I think it would draw a bigger audience towards the Moore Army. Keep up the good work, and congratulations on 1 year of podcasting." Well, do you know something? I've actually thought about that. I used to be involved in, I think I mentioned this before in the podcast, I was involved in a live football show on a Monday night on local community radio back in 2013. I used to go live on the air every Monday night. The Monday Night Football Show, it was called. We used to have people texting in all the time and tweeting and whatever else. And used to do it every Monday night. And then obviously I'd left the radio station. Then obviously it didn't continue anymore. But the point is, yes, I would love to do a football podcast. I've thought about it actually. Funny enough, you mentioned that to me, because I know a lot of, ex-Irish League players personally, and there's just so many people who I know in football who I could sit down with for, half an hour on a Saturday before a game and just have a wee quick yarn with them and stick it out on a podcast. You know what I mean? There's just so many different things I could do. I would love to do. So maybe it's something to maybe think about, because, I love making podcasts. I love talking. I love meeting new people. And with me involved in local football, it would be great to sort of like get an insight to ex-players' careers, current players' careers, just different things that sort of like would make a really good podcast. So yeah, it's something I have thought about and maybe consider doing on down the road. So yeah, maybe one day. But thank you for your support. I do appreciate it as always. I'll do one more Instagram, then I'll move on to the Facebook page. Let's have a look and see. Oh my goodness me. Right, I've one here from Finley. Is it Finley? Yes. Finley on Instagram. Now, I don't know why Finley's your surname or Finley's your first name. I don't know, but it's just Finley. So, hello Matthew. Greetings from Carrickfergus. Oh, you're local. Carrickfergus. Finley. Oh, here, I know another Finley from Carrickfergus. Ex-WWE wrestler. Finley says, "Greetings from Carrickfergus, Matthew. Just wanted to know, have you recently been in Carrickfergus at all? I seen you were in Carrickfergus a few years ago, before COVID. I saw one of your vlogs. Would you ever consider coming back to Carrickfergus once again? Myself, my dad, and my 2 brothers are all massive Carrick Rangers supporters, and would love to see you down at Taylor's Avenue someday. Hope to get to meet you and Lewis someday at football, as we do follow all your work with the Welders every single week. I love watching all your YouTube channel videos, and I remember seeing a YouTube channel video from Carrick Rangers ground a few years ago where you met 2 girls, and I also posted photos of them on your social media pages as well. You seem a very nice guy to meet in real life, and I'd love to meet you someday in person. Hopefully get to catch you at a game sometime at Taylor's Avenue. And that's from Finlay. Thank you, Finlay. Appreciate it. Yeah, God, that was a while ago. The night I was in Carrick, that was with the Welders in it. We beat them in the County Antrim Shield, I think it was. And I met these two lovely girls who said both their partners and all watched my YouTube videos. My God, that was a while ago. Gee whiz, I haven't been to Taylor's Avenue in quite a while, actually. I know we played Carrick Rangers, I think it was in a cup match up at the new stadium, Welders Ground, about 2 years ago. But in relation to being at Taylor's Avenue, I used to go be at Taylor's Avenue quite a bit. A few years ago when Carrick used to be in the Championship, but I haven't been to Taylor's Avenue now in about, I would say about 3-4 years. So, but yeah, I do remember that night actually being down there. I actually met a lot of people that night down there. I was taking some pictures with a lot of people. But the last time I was in Carrick was just before COVID. So it was the last time I was in Carrick. So, Finlay, thank you for your message. I appreciate it. And, yep, thanks for all your support. And say hello to your family for me. And Carrick Rangers, good football club, and their manager's a good lad as well. I like talking to their manager. I'll tell you a funny story about him. I was at the Irish Cup draw last year, sitting at the National Football Stadium, Windsor Park in Belfast, and he was sitting next to me, and we were sitting there joking away at each other, and we had such fun. We were just sitting laughing and joking, and he's just such a nice guy. So he is such a nice guy. That's one guy I wouldn't mind interviewing. Ex-footballer too as well. Not a bad player in his day, but he is funny. But thank you for your message. I do appreciate it as always. Right, let's get in here and see. I'll go to the Facebook page here. I should have opened this up before I even decided to record the podcast today, guys. Right, here we go. Facebook. Hey Matthew, how you doing? Just want to say congratulations on 1 year of podcasts. Random question for you for today's show, if you get this question. Okay, goes on here to say, I've seen a lot of stories in recent news and also witnessed it myself that spiders in the UK are getting bigger. Bit of a random question. I recently ran into one spider in our kitchen one time, and I swear to you, it was near as big as my head. The spiders in the UK are getting bigger and bigger as the weeks go by. What is your thoughts on this? Have you had any big spiders in your home recently? Thank you for taking the time to read my question, and I hope this reaches you as you're obviously keeping well. Well done on 1 year of podcasting as well. Okay. Spiders. Yes, I had an altercation with a spider the other night, and I would agree with you. They are getting bigger. They are getting a lot bigger, and I mean a lot bigger. Funny enough, it was actually last Thursday night? Or was it the following Thursday? Tony and I were standing out back, and there was one just above Tony's head, and I swear to you, I took a photograph of it actually, and I swear it was weird looking. It was like a white body with black spots on it, and it was fucking huge. It was massive. And then a few days ago, there was another one in our house, ran across the living room floor just out of the blue. It just sort of went across the floor, afternoon, just shot across the floor. And I was like, okay, hello you too. Yeah, they're getting bigger. They are getting bigger. I see people all the time on social media, on my personal Facebook, people going like, oh, come here and get rid of this spider. I can't. Honestly, I can't stand them. Get rid of them. And I'm thinking to myself, and they always post a picture of it and they go, that's nothing. Like these small things. You win the countries like Australia and the States and you see spiders that are like flipping the size of, I don't know what, they're massive. And these be baby things and they're going up. But I must admit though, recently they have got a lot bigger. I don't know what it is, but they're getting bigger. So they're getting a lot bigger than what they used to be. Everybody deals with them in their own way. Some people squash them. Some people suck them up with a hoover. Some people just lift them. I'll tell you a true story. I wouldn't say more spiders, more daddy long legs as they're called. my brother Tony used to pick him up when he was a kid, like 3 and 4 years of age, and pick him up with Daddy Longlegs. And I always just said to him, Tony, you're so fucking cruel for doing this. He used to pick him up when he was a kid and like pick the legs off them and put the body down and see it wiggle, and then he squashed it. And I used to say to him, why did you ever do that when you were like 3 and 4 year old? And he goes, I don't know, I can't even remember doing it. But Tony's no fear. He would just walk up and lift the spider and put it out in the garden in his hands, or he would just, I don't know, it doesn't bother him. I know people who squeal, like Brooks, my daughter, she's one of them. She fucking squeals the house down when she sees a spider. Oh my God, a spider! And then you'd walk in and it's not even like the size of half of your fingernail. And then there's other ones you go into and they're like the size of your full hand. You're like, whoa, fuck. So, but yeah, I would agree with you on that one, that they are getting bigger. People deal with them in all different ways. I've seen quite a few of them recently. But again, it doesn't bother me. I would just normally either lift it, put it into a bit of paper or something like that, and then throw it outside into the outside or whatever. I'll be the first to admit I've sucked one or two up with the Hoovers over the years, or I've had bigger ones coming at me and I've squished them. But yeah, they are getting bigger. They are getting a lot fucking bigger, to be honest. So they are. But how do you deal with them? That's a question for the viewers, or for listeners, sorry. How do you deal with big spiders in your house? Here. Oh, some people it gives them the heebie-jeebies, but I don't know. Crazy. Right, let's get on to our Facebook question before I head off to the emails. Let's have a look here and see where we're from here now. Right off of one here from Laura. Where's Laura from? Doesn't say. I'll click on her profile and see if it shows you where she's from. She is from Cardiff, Wales. Hello, Laura from Cardiff, Wales. How are you? She writes to me saying, hi, Matthew. Happy anniversary on the podcast. I've listened to your podcast every week, and I just wanted to ask you a question about iPhones. Okay. iPhone recently launched the new iPhone 15, and I just wanted to know, will you be getting the new iPhone 15 when it launched? I have placed my order, but I have to wait till the start of November to get my phone because there's so many pre-orders. Have you had this difficulty yourself if you have ordered it? I know you've said on your podcast you have the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Is there much of a difference between that and the new iPhone 15? Your thoughts? Okay. First of all, thank you for the message. Yes, Apple announced their new, I talked about it on last week's podcast about smartphones. They announced the iPhone 15, which looks incredible. Have I pre-ordered it yet? No, I haven't. I tried to get onto it and order it that day, and they're saying the same thing. November time. I don't know why it's saying November. And they're not even giving you a date where you can actually order it and collect it from the store. Delivery to your home's like October, November. I have checked it a few times. Will I get the iPhone 15? Probably. Is there much of a difference in it? There is quite a few. I mean, there's yesterday, for example. Laura, I updated my phone to the iOS 17 software. What a fucking nightmare that was. I was trying to write text messages last night, and it was writing fucking 6 or 7 words ahead of me before I was even getting the chance to write a text message. I'm going, whoa, what's going on here? I went through into the keyboard settings and changed a few things about it, and it was still doing it. It was like, what the hell's going on here? So, yeah, the Apple's launched their new software there a few days ago, but I got mine yesterday. But will I get the iPhone 15? Probably, yeah, because the camera's a lot better on it. And obviously there's a lot more features on it too as well compared to the 13. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy enough with the 13. I love the iPhone 13. But at the end of the day, I mean, am I ever going to upgrade it? Possibly. But we'll just have to wait and see. Have you ordered it yourself? I mean, by the looks of things, you have obviously ordered it. But again, paying for a phone that you don't get until November, it's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? It's kind of like it's on high demand. I was actually reading through Facebook yesterday. I just happened to pull my phone out and had a read through. And one of my good friends put up on Facebook saying, trying to get an iPhone 15 is like trying to get a bottle of Prime. You've no fucking chance. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Well, listen, thanks for your question. Yes, I probably will get the iPhone 15 in time, but when, I don't know. Because I've had the 13, it'll be 2 years this December, and I've never had an issue with it. Never had an issue with it. Not one. Not one problem with the iPhone. Not one. But I know a lot of people out there who are avid Android users and wouldn't go near an iPhone. Some of the new Samsung phones look really, really good, but I don't think I'd ever go back to Android again. Just being totally honest with you. Right, let's get into some of your emails. Mirror Army, I know I was dragging on quite a bit here now, but Mirror Army Podcast at yahoo.com. Let's go in here and have a wee look here and see. Right, one here first of all from Brendan. Brendan says, greetings from Sligo. Oh, Sligo. Never been. Goes on to say here, happy anniversary, Matthew, for your podcast. 1 year old. Where has the first year gone? Listen to every episode every single week and absolutely love your podcast. Keep up the good work, my friend. Hope you and your family are all keeping well and look forward to more exciting YouTube videos and also your podcast. Have a great week. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Sligo, never been in my life. I think I maybe drove through it, but I've never actually been in Sligo. Right, let's move on to another one here from Timmy. Timmy? Is that Timmy from South Park? Timmy! I'm only joking. I'll probably get cut now and making fun of people. Go ahead, cut it out. Go on, I'll give you a second to cut it out. Cut the clip, go on. Cut. Oh, Timmy. Unbelievable. Timmy goes on here to say, hey Matthew, just wanted to ask you a question for your anniversary podcast. What is your favourite type of music? I love all my old classic stuff from the 60s right up until the 90s, and some of the new tracks nowadays are actually okay, but some of that music today makes you want to pull your eyeballs out and throw them down the road. Okay, fair enough, Timmy. Or Timmy, whatever you want to call it that way. What's your view on this here? Just wanted to know what type of music you're into yourselves. Congratulations on 1 year of podcasting. Keep up the good work. And that comes from Timmy. So, favourite music? Well, obviously one of my favourite bands of all time is Queen. Motorhead, I've always loved Motorhead since I was a little boy. Had the privilege of seeing Motorhead a couple of times live. But me personally, I'm more of a 80s, 90s type guy. I love a bit of 70s as well, because obviously I was brought up all around that with mum and dad. Some music nowadays isn't too bad, I'll be honest with you, but there's a lot of music out there now that I just sort of go, oh my good God, how is this even being published as music? It's like, seriously? Like what? Ugh. But it's obviously the times change and times move on. I always have a thought. I always think about this, saying to myself, if the likes of the Freddie Mercurys of the world was still alive today and was around to see today's music and some of the stuff that's being pumped out there, he'd probably look at it and go, for the love of fuck, what the hell are they putting out here today? Honestly, like really, what is that? But yes, I'm sort of like more of the old school type stuff. I'm not into all that rave music and trance music and all that. I'm not into all that. I do like some of the dance stuff from the classic stuff now there, but there is some good stuff from today as well. But if I was to go to an average, like a decade or a generation, it would be more of the 80s and the 90s sort of stuff, because there's a lot of good stuff from that generation. So, but again, excuse me, we know why I'm yawning this morning on the podcast here, but may need more coffee. I was brought up around the 70s as well, because obviously mum's a big 70s fan, so was dad. So, but yeah, that's more for me. I do like obviously rock music too, because I love Motorhead, and Tony, my brother, he loves his rap music and his R&B and all that stuff. He's into all his Snoop Dogg and Tupac and all that stuff, which, don't get me wrong, some of them songs are actually really, really good, but he's more into it than I would be, you know, so hence why I even seen us going on that trip to Dublin recently, a few months ago, where we went to see Snoop Dogg live. But yeah, no, it's that would be sort of for me. That would be my sort of go-to. I do listen to a local radio station here in Northern Ireland all the time called U105, which is great. They play a lot of mixture of all different types of music from all generations, and I would listen to them on a Thursday night. So I would text into the show to get a wee shout out and whatever else, and They play some really good music every single week. So that would be my sort of station. So it would be. But I hope that clears it up for you. And thank you for your email. So to me. Right. Only another one here before I head down the road here to end this podcast today. Let's have a look and see. Right. I'll pick one here that actually has the same name as my son, but it's spelled differently. Lewis. My Lewis is L-U-I-S. This is L-E-W-I-S. Lewis. Is it Lewis McShane? For what I can see here. Yes, Lewis McShane on the email writes to me saying, "Happy anniversary, Matthew, on the podcast. Love listening to it every single week. Would you ever consider getting any guests on the show?" I've just answered that question a minute ago. Any guests on the show? Would love to hear you interviewing some people. I've recently started following some of your work on the football channel, Welders TV, and I do enjoy your interviews, especially when you interview the manager and players as well. I enjoy watching it every single week. Would you ever consider doing any other type of podcast in relation to anything else, like wrestling, football, any other type of sport, anything at all in general of an interest to yourself? Just thought I would ask this. I'm sure you're asked these questions all the time, but I thought I would ask you anyway. Keep up the good work and congratulations on 1 year of podcasting. And then he puts like a wee heart and then the Mirror Army name beside it. So, well, thank you very much for that. Yes, I've already answered that question. And obviously about the podcasting as well. Yes, I'd obviously like to do maybe another podcast as well. But yeah, thank you for your email. Thank you for your support. I do appreciate it. And thank you obviously for watching the Welders TV channel as well, because I do encourage people to go over and try and support local football if you're a football fan. And also you get to see my big ugly face on there interviewing managers and players and stuff, which I'm doing tonight again. So happy days. But thank you guys. I could sit here all day answering your emails, but unfortunately I can't. I'm going to sit probably tomorrow and go through some of them, because I've got a day off tomorrow, a very rare Wednesday off. So I'm going to go through some of the emails and respond to some of yours and respond to some more of your social media messages, because the amount of people who've sent me messages over the last couple of days has been incredible. So guys, thank you so much for all the support and the love and the messages and everything that you send me every single week. People been send me photographs of receiving their new Mirror Army podcast merchandise, Mirror Army merchandise. We posted a photograph on social media the other day of us with our... Well, I ordered a new hoodie and me and Lewis got new t-shirts. His new t-shirt, his Orwa t-shirt, in case you wonder what that is, go and watch the vlogs, you'll understand. So yeah, guys, everything you've given us over the last year, especially this podcast, has been incredible. I couldn't thank you enough for it. And even those haters out there who don't like me as well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of the anniversary edition of the podcast. So again, we love you all very, very much for supporting us. Thank you so much for everybody who writes us an email or sends us a message on Instagram or whatever it is, or comes up and says hello to us in the street, whatever it is. Thank you so much, guys, for all your support. I do appreciate it. We're back to the podcasting again on Thursday, where we're going to have the Jackass of the Week. So if you want to get a suggestion in for that, I would appreciate it. We're going to be getting more into the stories of what's going on in the world. We're going to be answering some more questions. We're going to be talking about other things that's going on in the world. Anything you'd like to hear me talk about on it, drop me a message and I'll have a wee chat about it here on the podcast. Right, I'm going to go and get myself another cup of coffee, a shower, a shave, and get ready to head out for the day with Mum and Dad. I'll be doing a wee vlog while I'm out today as well, because me and Mum and Dad are heading out for a bit of family time again. And there's no kiddies, which is even better. So it is, so stay tuned for that. Right, guys, once again, if you're on Apple Music, Spotify, you're listening to this on TuneIn Radio, please add us to your favourites. If you're on YouTube listening to this here, please subscribe and drop a like on the video. And also if you're listening to us on Facebook, share it to everybody. I would appreciate it. So until Thursday, guys, I will see you back here for another episode of the Mirror Army podcast. Thank you once again. Happy 1 year. I can't believe it's been a year. Unbelievable. Till Thursday, guys, love yous all. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you back here on Thursday for another episode of the Mirror Army podcast.